And we are live with the second game of the day featuring Men of Aeron facing off against Perpetuum. And this should promise to be a good one, falling after quite a bit of a one-sided matchup here. We're getting to the matches that should be rather intense as we move on forward.
Yeah, that last one wasn't exactly a favorable matchup, but this one could shape up to be a bit better. So Men of Aeron started off their ban with Circuit and Perpetuum, banning out Janus, and then Men of Aeron are throwing it over to the Geb ban, so putting a little bit of priority on getting rid of one of those powerful supports, and then of course Perpetuum is getting rid of Khepri, leaving Sun Wukong pretty easily over to Men of Aeron.
Yeah, pretty solid pickup there for them. And of course, Sun Wukong, the first lock-in immediately since he's available here. Such a potent soul inner pick with that Bluestone pendant being available that you cannot afford to leave him available for that long at all, or else he's going to be picked out immediately. So, Perpetuum, they've got time to think about how they want to deal with the Sun Wukong, though, and not really worry too much about their soul lane pickup, since that one's already set in stone.
So, they go ahead, pick up the Thor for the jungle on the other side. Well, they haven't picked him yet, but they're going to probably. It's a very safe and smart. Yeah, there we go. So Thor Ice is locked in for Perpetuum. Again, Thor is just such a unique and flexible character. He has high rotatability, a lot of damage. I mean, you've heard the same song and dance before. Thor, good pick. Men of Aeron, Nox is highlighted, but Athena locked in. Now, I do like the idea of Nox here. She's a very powerful character, especially with a pretty darn good front line shaping up on Men of Aeron. You've got some Wukong and Athena. A lot of protections that can be offered for a Nox character. So I think that she's going to be in safe hands with that team comp. Now, Kumbhakarna, still something they want to highlight on Perpetuum. I'm not sure if that's actually going to be the support they're highlighting, or this is just a running gimmick they like.
I mean, it's Dirgius. Of course, it's probably going to both be a running gimmick and an actual lock-in, possibly. So, you can't really count out the Kumbhakarna here, but once again, it is Dirgius, Shadow Boy, so... I mean, it probably is just that gimmick here. As Hell, now being hovered on. Hell, the god who was left up surprisingly here, and... Oh, wouldn't be surprised if you're taken in here, and now we go. Hell, come back into the meta quite strong, and going to be locked in for Perpetuum.
Yeah, I think that Hell has kind of found an awkward niche in recent patches to where she was really good in the solo lane if you could survive, and in the late game she could just carry a team, but it was making it to that point because basically you would just try and counter her in the early game, and essentially what would happen is you would just lose the lane so hard that you honestly couldn't actually do anything about it.
I mean, a couple of weeks ago, and in SPL as well, we've seen games where Hell, but in Challengers Cup, especially the EU one as well, we saw a game where I believe it was the Poppies. They played Hell in the game. Warchi was on a solo lane Hell, and he got absolutely destroyed early game. He was 0-4 at some point into it. However, as a team, they're able to hold out long enough and get the Hell to the point where she absolutely wrecks. And as long as you as a team can act well enough to prevent the bleed out, and with the Hell, that is quite possible, especially if there's no counter on the table for Men of Aeron. They could end up carrying on through. So getting to that point, while difficult, is a very major possibility that Men of Aeron will have to keep in their minds. They've got a ticking time bomb in their hands, and if they don't disarm it fast enough, it's going to blow up right in their faces.
So the bans come out as Odin and Sobek, so obviously Perpetuum does not want to deal with Odin just getting that 100% anti-heal. And then there's also the fact of Sobek, Men of Aeron basically wanting to take away another displacer or for any kind of super aggression. But Kumbhakarna was finally locked in after their running gimmick had lost its flair. So that's going to be the support of choice for Perpetuum. Meanwhile, Men of Aeron highlighting Xbalanque as their AD carry of choice, which of course he just is a late game monster that could make things really troublesome for Perpetuum. But is that going to be the one that ideally works the best of this team comp?
I'm not quite sure, but you want to bring the late game damage, try to counter the late game, and there we go, Men of Aeron locking in those final few picks. A Xing Tian as well. Weak, you're going to see a Jungle Guardian or Warrior at some point in this, so some pretty solid picks from Men of Aeron here. Quite a bruisery composition as well, but will it be enough to push on through Perpetuum is the question.
Oh, we'll have to wait and see. I like both team comps, but I think that if I had to give my vote, Perpetuum have the better late game just because of Hell. But that's of course assuming she makes it to that point. And in the solo lane against Wukong, there's a couple of iffy circumstances. One of which being, can Hell survive the bullying that Wukong is gonna ideally do to her? But we'll go ahead and throw it over to you, Sosa.
Sorry, I just want to say, I think that Perpetuum as a team have the tools to carry into the late game here. They've got some early game damage in the form of Thor. He can provide that protection as well. Kumbhakarna has plenty of ways to disengage fights here. So all in all, Shadowboy, I agree with you. I think Perpetuum has the better comp here, and I think they've got the tools they need in carrying on through. However, we're going to see Aeron trying to disarm a time bomb. They're going to have to be playing very fast and furious, and if they can play that style and work it well, they can definitely win through this game, he said, because Sun Wukong, he's going to be able to bully quite hard. The problem is, can they keep up said bullying and end up carrying it through to a victory?
Well, we'll wait and see as we let this counter do its thing and get set up and loaded into the game. You guys stay tuned. We'll be back in just a moment.
And we are live with the action featuring Perpetuum facing off against Men of Aeron here. Perpetuum off to a very rapid early start here as they're going very aggressive here. They're just trying to find a pick here, but he will just simply set down the ward and walk away happy.
Yeah, they don't actually have any displacement. If they were running, like, if they caught somebody off guard, maybe they could find something with a stun ball combination, but with that particular way of how they went about that 5-man, kind of walk into their jungle, it was pretty much just a warding maneuver. But everyone's going back to the normal starts, wards all around the maps. I don't think we're going to see a repeat of the last game we saw, where one team just kind of got surprised.
I mean, this is Seed 8 versus Seed 9 here, and this is where things get very, very interesting here. There's a lot on the line for both of these teams. That Seed 8 is the cutoff for who makes it to the next round of the Challengers Cup. And we're getting towards the final few weeks of the actual free entry play-in, so that 8th seed is so very important. Men of Aeron and Perpetuum are going to be fighting incredibly hard over getting that top 8 finish here, so there's a lot on the line for both teams. So I'm expecting both teams to play it a bit safer than usual, maybe, or pull out something crazy aggressive, or just pull out something crazy that nobody's expecting and get them as soon as they can.
I would expect more aggression, if anything, but right mid Harpies are going to go over towards Perpetuum, and then left Harpies are more than likely going to go over.
Stolen!
Yep, there, went over to Isis.
AngryDayQQ actually managed to steal away the right-hand Harpies with a Spirit Ball there, well-placed, well-timed, and a blind steal there.
Yeah, I mean, you usually have a pretty good prediction of where a Spirit Ball is going to land. It's just a matter of, is it going to be in time, is usually the better question. So, good job on Isis. She was able to set her mid lane opponent back a little bit, but Nox is going to do these back RBs, hopefully try and stay relevant. Not able to catch up, though, so that's going to be a little bit of a downer there.
A little bit of a downer there is AngryDayQQ going to have a nice little advantage on Isis, sitting about a slight level lead on the middle of a Nox right there. So definitely someplace you want to be as an Isis. If you can get ahead, you are going to be a terror to be reckoned with right here. So all in all, AngryDayQQ now hitting level 5, going to be quite happy, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be pretty happy about that. Hey, I just took the mid camps, but aside from the mid laner doing pretty good play, there's the dual lane that's looking pretty stale, but at the same time, it's interesting kind of team composition. So you have Xing with a Xbalanque, and that's a lot of aggression. I'm actually curious to see how this one works. I still haven't seen a lot of pairings with Xing.
The problem here is that Perpetuum has a lane that's so easy to find some form of disengage on their side that Men of Aeron are going to be hard-pressed to find any kind of major kill pressure outside of a major misplay from Perpetuum or an incredibly well-placed series of CCs. A great Blink Jiantan ultimate, or Darkest of Nights just setting them up for a massive, unexpected engagement here.
So over in the solo lane, however, the one matchup that we thought was going to be pretty much a signifier as to how well Perpetuum could do or not do is actually a stalemate. Hell is not necessarily in a bad spot, but she's not exactly in a great spot either. And the same could be said for Sun Wukong.
The problem is, if a Hell goes even, she's going to be in a pretty solid spot for later on in the game. And especially with Tikkyy coming in for a fight here, Ezzune doesn't know what's about to hit him, and it hits him pretty hard, as Anvil of Dawn will smash right into his head there. We're going to see an attempt from Athena, but it's a bit too late and a bit too little here. Tikkyy picks up first blood into Ezzune right there.
And that's the perfect time to gank the solo lane, is when the solo laner only has Bluestone and Boots. I mean, if he has anything else, it becomes really difficult for you to actually be able to do anything. So it's good to make those early ganks then. You give your solo laner a little bit of advantage. You also give yourself some nice gold. First blood going rid of Perpetuum. I think that was a very sound decision. Perpetuum showing a pretty good start to this game after a couple of small wins into that big first blood win.
And that big first blood win, especially in the lane they got in, is going to be something that Men of Aeron will have to deal with the later and later this game goes. So the question is, can Perpetuum make the big play now, turn into something even bigger later? With the god they got it on, that's going to be much easier to accomplish here. Another Spirit Ball not landing the Steel Axe this time around, but Tikkyy now completely out of position here. Dark Knight's coming on through. This should be a dead Tikkyy here, as Perpetuum will detonate, giving him just a little bit of extra time, but a lot of resources spent on Men of Aeron's side of there, on the Perpetuum there. So unfortunately Tikkyy did die, but did force him to spend a lot of ultimates on him.
Hey, cooldowns are meant to be used. Don't mistake that.
Good use there.
Cooldowns are meant to be used.
You got the kill.
If we have to use 4 ultimates, we'll use 4 ultimates.
It's worth it.
So,
no, you know me. I'm the man of word.
Yeah, okay.
Like, I love words, so...
But yeah, no, I agree. They used a lot to get that Thor kill, but at the same time, I don't see any huge fights happening soon. So I think that was a worthwhile kill. I think that was a very good, a good investment for them.
It's going to prevent a lot of that early Thor aggression we've seen. He's already got a first blood here. The best way to shut him down, or at least prevent him from getting extra kills there, is to just find him and then put whatever you have into killing him. So, like I said, despite what I said there, I do agree with the play.
Well, and even then, I think that, you know, on top of that, it's more of a mentality factor. Like, once you usually get first blooded on by Thor, it kind of feels like a downer. You end up getting into this mentality, okay, we have to play safe, we have to always be alert of where he is, and so Wukong needed to be a bit more alert of where Tikkyy was, as he was able to get a kill there, and over in the dual lane, Vastrakal was able to get one as well. So across the map, a couple of kills going over Perpetuum. But yeah, you get in this mentality of, oh man, Thor could be, you know, above my head at any moment, and it's really suboptimal play just because you end up basically forcing yourself into bad decision making just out of fear.
Speaking of some possible bad decisions here, there's a bit of a fight breaking out here under the blue buff. Reveal will secure as Tikkyy goes over the top to safety. Tiger Stun still connects. Darkest Knights will finish out, but no stun coming through. Reavel, however, caught out in a landslide though, but AngryDayQQ, he's aimed, he finds Kaasin right there, and now he's going to start protection, detonating on top of Elexum and Kaasin right there. We'll see Kayla's join the party as well, tossing Reavel back into an awful spot there. He's going to get heals going though, he's going to survive for quite some time, as now Dirgius has joined the party. Spirit Ball will fall short, but Dirgius finds the route onto Ezzune right there, locking him away from Elexum right there. They could find as Tikkyy spins to win. There's no way to lock him down. AngryDayQQ will secure it with the wing gun in a 2-for-1 exchange. That'll be Men of Aeron being forced to retreat there. What could have been a bad fight for Perpetuum will be salvaged by some quick rotations from the team.
Yeah, it was very good rotations. I mean, the fact that Xing was able to get there just in time. See, you always know! That's another steal for ISIS in the form of getting a couple of small ones. But you always know where the Spirit Ball is after so long. After so long, you know exactly when that thing's gonna pop. I
mean, especially as a like AngryDayQQ, that's a fairly old name in the scene as well, so I guess, yeah, it's fair to say that he knows where he's going to be firing, he knows where his stuff will be. It's fair enough to assume that he knows when his blind fires are going to work.
So, but yeah, he didn't actually steal the entire buff, just the, just the
one that mattered.
No, I mean the entirety of the blue buff. He didn't steal the big mini. He stole just a couple of small ones, which is still a little bit of experience and gold your way. So you can't necessarily be too upset at that fact. But nonetheless,
sending a message.
Yeah, nonetheless, that was still a very good Spirit Ball. But I like Hell's build. I want to go ahead and take a chance to take notice towards that. Breastplate of Valor first. So she acknowledges the fact that Wukong is going to do damage, and rather than sitting and saying, all right, well, I'm still going to build Warlock Sash, or I'm still going to build something really aggressive, I'm going to go ahead and build defensively. But over in the middle lane, a lot of burst damage coming down. ISIS is going to be taken out with a combined blink effort of Xing and some burst damage coming out from Nox.
Yeah, a huge chunk of burst damage there. One thing people tend to forget about Nox is that she is an absolute monster when it comes to the burst damage potential here. And now another big rotation coming out of Men of Aeron here. They are not going to let up now that they've gotten something. They don't want to go out without him making a massive swing here, and a massive swing we'll see coming through. Reavel caught out incredibly hard right there. Darkest of Knights also to keep him locked down. He's trying to heal, but I think this is a foregone conclusion here. Reavel should fall, but they're breaking off a little bit too much. Xing going to go for the ultimate here. Will toss Reavel back. Does he have to heal it? Just barely in time. He's getting a huge chunk of healing off. He's still surviving, and Reavel actually escapes engaging here. Men of Aeron not having the damage, unfortunately, nor the lockdown here, as he just had way too much healing and way too much defense on the side of Reavel right there. Perpetuum surviving what could have been a massive gank out of Men of Aeron right there, and just drawing huge chunks of pressure away.
Man, that was intense. So, you want to talk about why...
It's not what a fighter's going to do as well. Dirgius letting him down, a lockout coming through as well. Athena joined the party, bounce hitting no one. Dirgius will go into the sleepy here, but only buying time for AngryDayQQ. Deathwalker will secure the kill on the Dirgius, but now AngryDay, he wants blood, he wants vengeance. He'll take down Kaasin right there. A kill onto the mid laner, but Xbalanque was the one to secure Dirgius right there, so he's getting his passive stacked, getting the death march prepared, and now they're going to watch out for that one as AngryDayQQ still hanging around. Sorry, Shadow Boy, let's get back to your point.
It's all fine. But you mean, that's why Hell is so scary, is because she can just heal 2 times and basically be good to go for the rest of the fight. But, you know, going back over to that recent fight over in the dual lane, that honestly looked like near setup for a Gold Fury attempt, or at least probing it, but I guess neither team really wants to risk it on something like that, just because that is a snowball, or excuse me, that is a swing potential objective. So, you know, any kind of wrong attempt onto a tower, Gold Fury, or Fire Giant ends up with you getting punished really hard sometimes. But Sentry Ward is in favor of Perpetuum on the Gold Fury, so Men of Aeron are gonna have to be a bit more heavy spenders and get some Sentry Wards if they want to have some vision there.
Yeah, they gotta start playing the vision game and play it well at the same time as, well, in the game of vision, you die if you're not prepared here. So, unfortunately, Perpetuum, they're getting off to the proper and early start here against Men of Aeron, but Men of Aeron still able to respond soon enough as long as they make quick rotations and quick ward attempts. But Perpetuum do have to play this one carefully, as that Gold Fury will be the gate that lets Men of Aeron back into the game, or, well, the coffin that they put them in right here is now Men of Aeron trying to find their way around here, but, well, Perpetuum have a solid position here. Ward has been cleared out, so they're going to be putting in a new one as soon as they can. Still trying to bait some kind of fight, though.
Yeah, they have Kumbhakarna kind of just ward him off while the rest of his teammates get the left side mid harpies, and they're going to come back over to this mid wave, get some of that golden XP, and focus on just staying farmed up and ready to go. But no ward vision on the Gold Fury for the guys of Men of Aeron, still not putting a lot of priority on getting eyes on that objective. And meanwhile, the whole time, Hell has been keeping Wukong actually pressured under his tower. I mean, you look at the actual tower itself, it's a little bit below 50%, whereas Hell has only lost about 5 to 10%.
I mean, Hell has so much sustain, especially in the fact that Reavel, he's sitting nice and happily at 3 assists. He doesn't have kills to his name, but he's the assists and the money and experience their work there. And he has a nice little gold lead on his opponent right there. Not to mention, he's also got some early armor as well, some pen boot. He's going to be hard to lock down. He can fire back just as good. Oh yeah, big attempts here. They're starting up and they're going to rain as much damage as possible. Perpetuum sneaks it away before Men of Aeron can respond. And a great pickup there for Perpetuum, now putting them solidly in the lead.
So that's another instance of, okay, we're going to dump a lot of abilities into this, but we're not fighting much, so hey, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And then I like that mentality. If you know that you're not going to be in a full slaughterhouse fight mode for the next, 3 minutes, then it's okay to dump, say, 3 ultimates into the Gold Fury, because you're getting a big objective that's winning your team a smaller and smaller advantage. And now, because of that kind of mentality, they're sitting on a 4K gold lead and a 5.5K experience lead.
And a major lead that is indeed. Men of Aeron now going to be in the bit of a rough patch here, as this is the moment where Perpetuum will either snowball forward, especially with their composition here, or make some kind of misplay here. As Men of Aeron, they've still got chances to actually force the misplays out of Perpetuum. They've still got opportunities to just force the bad situation for Perpetuum here. But if they lose too much more, they're going to be the team that's going to be relying on mistakes.
So now, Sun Wukong actually forced to get a Stone of Gaia. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I much would have rather the Pestilence, just for the team benefit. I think it's a bit too optimistic to say, Stone of Gaia, I'm never going to die. I think it needs to be more of a Pestilence. My team needs to kill this girl.
You need some way to just slow down the healing as well. You need something in your bank as soon as you can get it, especially once these team fights get started. As Men of Aeron, they're gonna have a rough time here, as we've just seen what a Hell does to these team fights. We've seen what Perpetuum can do, and the name that Perpetuum has will definitely live up here, as these team fights will just go on forever and perpetually continue if they can't get some way to shut down the healing that Hell will be pumping out.
And even worse so is, I'm just now seeing the curse come out on Jin Chen, so not even one on Wukong. And quite frankly, 2 is needed. Oh my goodness, this rotation, yeah. So Wukong sees a rotation by the entirety.
He knows he can't stick around.
Oh man, the entirety of Perpetuum just came in and was like, hey, we're here to take your tower, hope you don't mind.
Yeah, not just that, they're here to take even more around these objectives here. They're setting up their wards, trying to get control of the map right now, and that's exactly what they need to be doing. They've got an advantage. They're going to press it quite hard. The advantage is quite large. Dirgius will get caught out by a root from, well, Nox right there, but not going to do too much of anything as he is already out of the major damage detonation. So all in all, Aeron almost find a pick here, but unfortunately almost doesn't count in Smite.
Yeah, almost, unfortunately only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, as they say, but,
I think that's the same.
Yeah, so looks like everybody is kind of just going back into a farming status. However, Perpetuum feels a bit more comfortable than Men of Aeron. They obviously have made full use out of their advantage and are looking to do more so. Again, we've already mentioned that Men of Aeron not building as much anti-heal as I would prefer. You know, of course, some Wukong missing out on the Pestilence opportunity, just adding that extra percentage of anti-heal to help, and that's the point. It's just to help push it a little bit more in their favor, because it's a little difficult to imagine a scenario where Hell is not going to be the biggest factor of this game.
Oh yeah, especially now that Hell, she's reaching the point where she can just farm freely. She's got 3 assists. She has complete control of her lane right there. Reavel is just going to become a threat very, very fast, and he's already become a threat here. 8,000 gold. Beads, too, already online, has plenty of defenses here, and just getting even more. He's got some extra power in the form of his pen boots right there as well, so he's not going to be lacking for power at all, since Hell does have some decent bases once you end up maxing out her abilities, which he has for most of the important ones at this point. There's going to be so much to deal with on the side of Men of Aeron right here, especially with Deathwalker getting caught out by a double stun right there. Third bounce, not being Deathwalker, but definitely putting some pain on College right there, and he's going to feel it. They've got to give up this tower here. There's just way too much pressure coming out of Perpetuum right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. They've been using this heavy rotation as a means to push down some of these tier 1 towers, and it looks like we might actually get a fight here. Thor is going to charge up his ultimate. Let's see who he decides to land on.
Yeah, wrong call here to land on everybody on the side of Perpetuum right now. Now Tikkyy will escape the fight. He's got Hell bringing him back up to speed as well. Every little dent they put in the side of Perpetuum is just getting returned fire on the Men of Aeron right there. A great knock up here as Reavel still sticking around. He's still fine. Vastrakal a little too far forward. Men of Aeron trying to press this fight as best as they can. We'll see a great 4-man taunt coming out of Kaasin right there, but is it enough? Surge Protection is coming down, will get the healing back onto Perpetuum. They're trying to turn this one around, and they will do that quite nicely. Kaasin caught up and absolutely obliterated by Reavel right there. And
healing!
They're looking for more. It's way too much healing. Men of Aeron just can't afford to fight this. They don't have enough sustained lockdown on the healing, and now you can see Perpetuum just pushing forward. They're going to go for the tower in the backside. They've got the front line. Reavel stepping forward. Dirgius still has a sleepy. We've still got plenty of the other side of AngryDayQQ, and they're forcing a full disengage from Men of Aeron. There's unfortunately no way Men of Aeron can keep fighting against this just sustained onslaught of Perpetuum.
So you want to talk about why certain fights can just be impossible? If you didn't know why Hell was just such a ridiculous character, that whole time, the entire time, Hell is just consistently on cooldown, healing her teammates, and there was no anti-heal. And not only Hell, but Isis even had a small little burst heal from her ultimate. So all those things considered, it's realistically speaking impossible for you to honestly do anything against that kind of team if you don't have the anti-heal. And they didn't. They have one weakening curse, and that's it. No pestilence, no other weakening curse. You need to, honestly. It's actually frightening how badly you need multiple weakening curses to deal with a team comp that has a majority of healing.
You need multiple forms of anti-healing, not just weakening curses. You need something else in the bank to actually give you some kind of sustain, or you need to abuse those weakening curses, combo them together, and get tons of burst damage out in that coordinated small window, as that is going to be the key to actually winning these fights. And as long as they can coordinate that, Men of Aeron can come back into this and can make plays. The problem is the windows of opportunity will be so small for them, and unfortunately they're coming in incredibly late for when Men of Aeron needed these.
So now we've returned back to the farming state as we were at prior, and you know we've talked a lot about how men of Aeron don't have a lot of anti-heal, but let's go back over to Perpetuum and take a look at their build. Jade Mountain Helmet, so you know that's going to turn into probably a Celestial Helm to get those benefits, and then you know, interestingly enough, there is a charged bow on the side of Xbalanque, but over on the other side it's an Xbalanque, which is kind of an interesting trade-off there.
Interesting trade-off here. That's going to be a lot of shutdown coming through from Vastrakal right now. So he's going to be able to go toe-to-toe with his opposition in the form of the ADC right there. Just shred away at his own power and not let him make much of an impact, if any, in these team fights. As that charge bow has been adding some massive damage into these fights, but only when they're clustered, and it's not really the kind of burst damage that men of Aeron need.
Alright, and the pause comes out from Deathwalker. We're going to get word from our admin here soon on that one, but in the meantime, you know, we'll take a look at Kumbhakarna, who's building into the Bulwark of Hope, which I like this build. I think that it's a pretty justifiable one from Kumbhakarna. You look at him as a character, and you don't really talk a lot about how much damage he can do, but it's actually quite substantial.
And not to mention, he's got so many ways of surviving post-death as well. The Bulwark of Hope is going to make him such a huge threat to take down. Like such way, he's got lots of damage potential for a Guardian as well, so realistically, you can't afford to ignore him with how much he can body block and how much he can just get into these fights, mess people out, root people out. He's so disruptive here, and he brings plenty of damage to the table with his, you know, minion bounce or a quick epic uppercut that you can't really afford to ignore him in these fights right now. So getting that Bulwark of Hope going to make him a massive, massive monstrosity.
Alright, and we're going to go ahead and go to a brief pause screen as we figure out exactly how long these teams are going to be paused up. It could be a little while, so you guys stay tuned. We'll be back after a couple of moments.
And with that, we do have everything ready to go for you guys again. So, thankfully, men of Aeron and Perpetuum back into the perpetual battle, it seems, in the eternal conflict that they have here, as the fight's already breaking back out into action here. But, I'll shadow boy. We didn't have much time to talk about this as now. Both teams trying to put some kind of aggression here. Where do you go from here with Perpetuum to just solidify your victory?
Well, it looks like their decision is to go over and keep doing the push-all strategy, which I like. I like the push-all strategy that they keep going for. The Athena Blink, no follow-up, a little bit of miscommunication there. A bit unfortunate because that is going to be a huge cooldown. And now, already the men of Aeron are so split up that this fight is looking terrible for him. In fact, Thor goes into the backside and immediately jumps onto the important characters on the side of men of Aeron. Meanwhile, all the same, the front line is getting destroyed and they can't keep up with his healing or damage. Weakening curse is popped, but it's too late. The healing was already pushed out, and now Hell is going to offensive mode as they take out a couple more members of Men of Aeron, and they're going to take out their tower as well.
Tikkyy doing such a good job in that fight, getting into the backline of Men of Aeron and completely preventing their high damage threats or their carries from getting into the fight. And if you can't bring the damage, you cannot kill Hell. You cannot bring the burst damage. They need to find some way to protect their backline and bring them into this fight, as you need to deliver this high damage package known as the backline of Men of Aeron. And unfortunately for them, Perpetuum had the strategy deals as Tikkyy finds another victim, and the Phoenix will be the first bird brought low for this game here as Men of Aeron. They're now in dire straits, 13,000 gold down, and even more experience down, 16,000 differential, and on the Fire Giant side, missing their Phoenix.
So now it's looking like a pretty bad scenario for Men of Aeron, having lost that fight, and they just lost a lot of their towers as well. So I don't know if they necessarily have the ability to come back into this game.
Yeah, it's going to be such a rough road for them, and like I said, Hell becomes such a big monster at this time of the game. Men of Aeron are really going to be relying on Perpetuum to make a massive error. There's going to have to be some kind of major misplay from Men of Aeron, from Perpetuum here. Like, a really bad Fire Giant call that takes him incredibly low, and on top of that, some incredibly bad Fire Giant play. Also lined up with the perfect combo of Men of Aeron being fired off.
Well, aggression coming on the whole
pick
lead.
Here, but nope, Vastrakal, he's got so many ways out.
Yeah, Beats pops out, and actually, Isis is trying to put some pressure on the Sun Wukong as well. Even with the Stunner guy, she's putting a lot of damage out. But Hell as well as Hou Yi are going to do the same to Shen Chan. The Darkest Knight's coming out as well as the taunt. Hou Yi is going to be in a bit of trouble, but he actually is able to jump out just in time. Meanwhile, Hell is actually taken out of the fight. That could be a big opportunity, but unfortunately, because they've invested so much into Hell, they aren't able to focus on the rest of the damage dealers like Tikkyy, and a Surrender Vote comes out and goes through, as it looks like Men of Aeron realized, man, we just could not deal with the healing from Hell and the damage from the rest of the members of the team.
They made the big mistake in that fight. They got too concerned with the Hell, and they grouped up. They needed to kill her, but they couldn't do it at the cost of just grouping up too much and setting up the perfect Thor Anvil of Dawn there. It ended up seeing Tikkyy hitting 4 members of Men of Aeron with a single Anvil of Dawn, followed into a massive Berserker barrage. The damage was way too much. A quick detonation from AngryDayQQ just led to that fight being an absolute massacre in favor of Perpetuum right there. And unfortunately, the plays they made came way too little, way too late, at the point where everybody else was just so much of a threat on the line for Perpetuum. And unfortunately, Men of Aeron will fall to Perpetuum this game, and that's going to be a quick move up there. It looks like Perpetuum will actually claim that top 8 finish this week over Men of Aeron, so a nice, good swing in their seeding for them.
Yeah, I mean, they've earned it. They had a wonderful game. I mean, you look at it, Hell's healing, it's just about 12k, which is actually more than any player damage on the side of Men of Aeron. So they couldn't even out-damage her healing. But yeah, they've earned their spot. They are now going to go ahead and feel pretty comfortable the rest of this tournament and just focus on trying to bump themselves up higher and higher on the seed and proceed from there.
Absolutely, but we've got more intense action coming your way, guys, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more EU Challengers Cup action brought to you by hi-rez Studios and Tier Monsters, so we'll be right back.